I'm Milton from Team Flex, and today we're going to be looking at Fit Model. We're going to be looking at real classes that are happening on stages right now in the NPC. Specifically, we're going to look at the Kentucky Grand Prix, Cincinnati Championships, and we're going to look at two Fit Model classes today to further break down the criteria, watch as this division unfolds, and give you, the viewer, feedback, ideas, and knowledge about this division, the criteria, and what you need to be focused on if you're going to compete, you're coaching for this, or anything else. And that's what I do on this channel all the time. So if you're here for the first time now, welcome, subscribe, hang out. We got a lot more coming. Let's get down to it. So we actually have two classes at this event that contained a couple athletes, which is good, okay? We've been doing Fit Model content. If you watch some of the videos, you know, some of the classes I can't even really review or talk about because there's only one competitor, two competitor. I mean, criteria is pretty, can kind of skew any which way at that point, right? Because somebody's got a place, and if you're the only one in the class, you're gonna win the class, right? That's the way it works. Here we have a class of 3, and then we have another class that we will review in a minute, class of 4. So still very small numbers as this division starts unfolding, but hopefully gaining better insight into criteria as far as things are going for Fit Model. So Fit Model division, as we know, is the kind of diversion back to 10 years ago or so. Bikini at the time, I was coaching during that time for Bikini. I'm coaching for Bikini now, and now I'm also coaching for Fit Model. So the look is supposed to be resembling of that era, but it's still a, you know, overall hourglass type of a look where you want to have a little bit of shoulder fullness, taper into the waist, and see the lower body balance out, be, you know, symmetrical to the upper in that case. So this is a group, Class A, where we have Jacqueline, who is winning this class. We have Leanne over here taking second, and then we have Danielle over here taking third, okay? So let's talk a bit about them. These are the only 3 competitors in Class A. And this is going to be, you know, our Class A Fit Model at Kentucky Grand Prix, Cincinnati Championships. Okay, so what we can see here is Jacqueline on this shot is probably the most balanced and symmetrical out of the group, okay? So she has, you know, just a slight bit of that shoulder shape, which is what judges are looking for, tapers into the waist well here. And then lower body-wise, we do see some inkling of muscle going on here, a little bit of shape down here, and it is in symmetry, okay? So for her, you know, it's again the Fit Model look, not a ton of muscle, not the full rounded out shoulders that we would see in Bikini, things of that nature, and lower body wise, same thing, not over muscled, not over dominant, and you know, she honestly could be airing a little tad lean here, but that may just be the way her midsection looks, right? She's got a pretty good oblique cut going here, maybe a little bit of a 6-pack action going on. That can either, you know, score you down, or maybe it doesn't matter depending on the show and the lineup you're in. But, you know, definitely in Fit Model, the goal here is to be softer than Bikini. You do not want to have Bikini level condition. You will often find, though, athletes do tend to have these areas on their physique that may be a little bit harder and some that may be a little bit softer. For her, it looks like, you know, her midsection is harder than the rest of her physique. We'll see when we get to the back. As I always say, the back is where the story is always told. But overall, very symmetrical look, definitely not overdone in any muscles, and that is, again, that Fit Model look. Looking over here at Leanne, a very close look in a lot of ways. For her, not a lot of shoulder shape going on as far as, like, not overdone, not too much mass. This is on par with criteria, just the amount that you would want to see. Tapers into the waist pretty well here overall, and then lower body wise we can see some muscle and everything coming through in the glutes and the quads, so on and so forth. So pretty symmetrical look for her. You know, it's a bit softer of a look. We can see there's a little bit of extra body fat in the midsection going on here, and you know, that's not a bad thing in Fit Model division. This is a softer look in general that you will see. I think really the thing for her is her lower body does look a little bit overdeveloped, a little bit more muscle in the quads, a little bit more in the glute, you can tell here, and that may be, again, a factor. So a little bit more dominant lower body, more like a wellness type of a look, is obviously not going to be the Fit Model look. It's not being favored in any degree. So for her, maybe a little bit lower body dominant, and also maybe a tad softer than she would want to be in this lineup. But still, you know, second place here at this event. Now, let's take a look over at Danielle, okay? So Danielle here, definitely the most muscle out of the three. She's got, big shoulders in this case, in this lineup at least, bigger biceps and triceps, more development there, pretty hard cutting oblique. Because again, that's muscle density. We even get a little bit of that lat sweep going on here. And lower body wise, she's got some pretty good development going on down here as well into the quads and everything. So she's definitely got the most muscle out of the group. And again, placing last in this class, 3 out of 3. That's last place in this class. Again, another pretty clear message from judges. I feel that they are going, fit model, not a lot of muscle. We don't want to see a lot of muscle. And also we, don't want your conditioning to be off. We don't see anybody in this lineup's conditioning is per se off, but we do see the athletes that tend to be a little bit bigger. Leanne has a little bit more muscle lower body, and obviously over here Danielle has the most muscle of this class, placing lower, not winning the class. So Jacqueline wins, based on this shape, based on that symmetry, and based on the fact she's not overdoing any which way, the muscle or even the conditioning, also not underdoing the conditioning. So let's go to the back though, because as I always tell you, and if you watch this channel, we talk constantly about how the back, we have to, go to that back pose in order to really get an accurate readout. Let's go. So here's our back pose for this class, class A, where we are looking at, again, Jacqueline in the middle, the winner, Leanne over here in second, and Danielle over here in third. By the way, if you are interested in learning how to train for Fit Model and you have no idea where to start, you're like, okay, I'm watching this stuff, but how do I attain that physique? How do I not build the shoulders, too much? How do I get the right amount of glutes to show? I do offer a 7-day free coaching trial, coaching for this division. I don't just sit here and review these things. I'm a real, deal coach that's doing the job, coaching actual athletes on stage for all kinds of divisions. But yeah, we are coaching now for Fit Model as well. So if you have interest in learning about that and you want to get a free, coaching experience, it's free for 7 days, no obligation to sign up, no credit card info, none of that goes in. All you do is hit the link in the description and you'll be invited to my training platform, seeing ones my clients use, and you get access to work with me one-on-one where I can give you feedback on your physique. I can show you how to train. I can, I find that a lot of viewers that do it, they're like, wow, this is immensely beneficial. This changed the game. I hear stuff from people that did the trial 5-6 years ago, and then they message me, today, oh, I just won this show, did that, I got my pro card based on information that, so there's definitely a lot of info and in-depth that you can learn, especially if you're on the fence trying to figure out this new division. So check that out for sure. Back pose here, okay? So we see the full story come to play, a lot of differences, but also a lot of similarities. So pretty much here, Jacqueline not showing a lot of shoulder shape from the back. Again, key with this division, bikini competitors, we'd start to see a little bit more roundness. Wellness, we definitely see more roundness. Again, that's a key indicator of the development of the shoulder there. So under the development of the shoulders in Fit Model, as we know from bikini, and it's a key factor that I know, a lot of people are like, oh, I see some that have bigger shoulder. Okay, well, classes can go any which way right now, but the clear message being across the board, as someone who's reviewed every single Fit Model competition that has happened thus far that I've been able to, this is clear. The judges are not wanting heavy shoulders. They want, just a little bit of that shape, and that's it. And they're making statements with their placings. Looking lower body wise here, Jacqueline has the glute structure and shape that we would expect for this division, and then the hamstrings, quads to match. Where she is exceeding here is in her symmetry. So again, very symmetrical to the upper, to the lower, left, right, all good there. Does not showcase tie-ins. That is a key marker of this division. You do not want to showcase tie-ins like we would see in bikini and wellness. If you do, it's going to be a score down point. So for her, this is very on par with where you should be. Her suit seems to be at about that 50% coverage. You might say a little bit more, but depending how you wear the suit, it's going to go any which way. That's another factor you have to consider though for this division. Your suit has to be 50% coverage in the back. Okay, now looking over here at Leanne, what we can see, little bit of that shoulder shape going on, not a lot here. We already kind of knew that from the front. Lower body wise still does appear a little bit dominant, maybe a little quad heavy even from the back. Glutes kind of seem a little bit under in their development compared to the quads and the hamstrings. So again, maybe just an indicator that that is a little bit too heavy of lower body muscle in that case, which again throws off your symmetry for Fit Model, which again will not place you as high as you could have placed. So that, for her could be a combination of her muscle structure as well as conditioning, maybe, pulling in conditioning just a tad more might be an advantage to her. And if we look over here at Danielle, what we can see is, again, very much so the most muscular athlete in the group. She has the biggest shoulders, even though they're not really showcasing a ton here. You know, this upper body width, you can definitely tell this tapered look is dramatic, a bit bigger in the lats, right? You know, we start to see a lot more muscle there. Lower body wise, we got a little bit of this tie-in coming through. We got hamstrings cutting through. So she's definitely the most muscular, and honestly, leanest from the back, placing last in this class. So again, that's a key marker. Judges are really not there. I've continually seen the fit model criteria here is definitely folding more and more towards do not be too big, do not have too much muscle, and do not be too lean. And we kind of do see that playing out. Now, let's go look at another class because we got some more athletes here on the screen now. Now we're moving to Class B. And this class actually contains our overall winner for fit model. So for those that do not know, the overall winner is probably the most accurate representation at a competition for the criteria of that division, right? So that gives you a pretty good insight into this lineup. So basically it was Jacqueline versus Kayla here for the overall, and Kayla came out on top of that overall. So let's talk about that. Kayla wins this class. Lexi over here takes second. And then Lindsay over here takes third. We do have one more competitor we will get to who took fourth in this group. Now, let's look here. A lot of similarities, but also clear differences. You know, it's funny how much physiques can change just within height classes. That's why they exist, though. You know, when you compete, you're going to be competing in your height class based on your height measurement. And you will only be competing against that. So, you know, if you, let's say you were example class A or something, and we're looking at a class C, and you're like, oh, these girls don't look anything like me. Well, that's because you're not gonna compete against them anyway. That's not really how it works, except for in the overall, obviously, where, you know, whoever wins overall wins the entire division at that point of that event. So looking here, what we can see, you know, Kayla has just a little bit of that shoulder shape, a really good waist taper. So this is a huge advantage for her. Very narrow waist, again, which is something judges have kind of been echoing. Lower body wise, you know, we can see that she's got good shape in the glutes, a little bit in the quads, very symmetrical look. So super symmetrical look here. And also, I will say, tad softer. So she is softer in general. You know, we're not seeing as much of the abs and the oblique like we saw in Jacqueline, Class A, who went head to head with her at some point. And that might be, again, an indicator that, you know, Jacqueline could win that class, but maybe it's just a little too lean for that division. Who knows, right? This is just my opinions, my ideas, my thoughts, but realistically, we can see that Kayla is definitely a little bit softer overall, and, you know, she does have the classic, what we could call fit model shape at this point, so that's a really locked down front. We'll see how the back looks when we get there. Lexi over here, just a little bit of that shoulder shape, very on par with what we would see in this division. Her ribs are kind of flaring. This is something that can happen with posing. It also can happen as an indicator of, you know, being too lean, which especially in this division is a bit of an issue because it can be an indicator. If you are pulling that through too much, you might be off the condition. Judges will look for that. They'll be like, oh, well, we can see some ribs. So where's that person at? And, you know, granted, everybody's going to have that to a degree a lot of time, but, you know, the development, the showcase of it, the best thing you can do is try to outpose that a bit if you do have that. And, you know, that will often favor you scoring better. But lower body wise, we can see the muscle, the shape, everything's here. For her, it's a very complete fit model look from the front. I mean, that is pretty on par with what we're looking at in this division at this time. Does not have as much muscle as Kayla in the lineup. So that is one thing to consider here as well. You know, she just doesn't have the same amount of shape, but I bet you, honestly, the front post very close, very, very close here between these two. When we get to the back, we'll probably get the full story. Looking over here at Lindsay, Lindsay has that pretty much, you know, fit model shape here. A bit more of an up and down physique for her, right? So a little bit more rectangular, if you will, not as dramatic of a taper like we see on Kayla. So that is, again, a big factor. The super narrow waist effect, that's something judges are going to want to see in fit model, just like they do in bikini. You know, that ratio change from the shoulders to the waist to back to the lower body is a key in this division, and I think that can favor placing. She also does have probably the most muscle lower body out of this group, where, you know, the quads can start to look a little bit heavy, a little bit overpowering maybe, and, you know, overall that could be a major factor in the placings. She's placing third in this class. There is one athlete that places lower than that. We'll talk about her when we get there, but let's move to the back. So from the back here, Kayla in the middle, Lexi over here in second, and Lindsay over here in third. Okay, so what we can see is Kayla definitely has a little bit of that shoulder shape here, pretty on par with the division. The best waist taper of the group again, so that's a huge advantage. You know, she wins the overall here as well. We know that up against Jacqueline, who we just reviewed in Class A. So, you know, she showcases that best. She also does have the most glute density as far as development goes out of the whole group of fit model athletes. So, you know, judges really are kind of bringing this out more and more, but they want to see that glute development. They want to see that be a key. That is a part of bikini criteria. That is a part of fit model criteria. You don't want to have a tie-in, as we've gone over. She does not showcase that, but she does have the most rounded and developed glutes on this stage in general of the whole fit model division, and she wins the class. So very interesting to see that, but also, you know, her lower body is totally symmetrical here with her quads and her hamstrings not overpowering any group. And overall, that is a very complete fit model look, very on par with criteria, you know, bit softer, not overdone in the muscle in any degree, but a fuller look in general. You can tell that, you know, their shape and their size there being created from muscle. That's a clear win for her, and she wins the overall. Looking at Lexi now, we don't get as much shoulders from the back, which is fine for this division. We taper into the waist a little bit less dramatically. Lower body-wise, you know, doesn't have the same exact muscle structure, meaning there's not as much density. You know, might need just a little bit more of that upper glute fullness overall. Tie-in is it correct for this division where it is, which it's not there. That's what we should see. And lower body, you know, she may just be able to use a little bit more muscle overall in her lower body, and that probably is the difference here in this class placement. Looking over here at Lindsay, Lindsay has that shoulder shape, a little bit more of a, you know, up and down, not as dramatic of a taper into the waist. Lower body wise though is definitely heavy in the sense of body fat. So she has a little bit more body fat. And, you know, what ends up happening is your lower body, if you have more muscle plus a little bit body fat, it just makes your body, you know, a symmetry look a bit off. So that's what we see here. You know, it looks heavy in the quads, looks a little bit, you know, heavy overall in the lower body. So conditioning, you know, tightening up and maybe reshaping lower body would be a key factor for her. And you'll notice, again, a little bit of variance in the suits, right? So a little bit more here, maybe a little bit more here, a little less here on the overall winner and the class winner. But, you know, this is what people need to understand. The way that your suit fits, even if these are all technically being made by the exact same designer with 50% coverage, which I'm sure they're not, I'm just saying hypothetically, they will fit differently on your glutes no matter what. Like, it's going to look different. 50% coverage looks different on every single athlete. So, you know, it's a factor. A lot of times it can indicate more development. That's why, you know, maybe her suit, Kayla here, appears a little bit smaller. It can be an indicator it's just sitting on her glutes a little bit more developed than the others in the class. Let's move now to the last comparison here of Paula. Paula's our 4th place winner in this division. Our 4th place, you know, class placing, I should say, in other words, and we're going to leave Kayla in the middle, and then this is our 3rd Lindsay over here again, we already talked about. So for Paula's, you know, a lot of the similarities that we're seeing, she has a bit more of the shoulder shape, probably biggest shoulders in this class, incidentally, which is interesting. You know, not the most waist taper. There's things that I would change with her posing a bit. You know, there's a lot of things I would change with a lot of the fit model posing that I'm seeing these days, but you know, hopefully we'll get a little bit more streamlined with that posing as time goes. Lower body, due to this pose, does not really accentuate her lower body as much, right? It's a much more up and down look here. Also, maybe potentially holding just a little bit more body fat into the low abdominals here than would be ideal for this division. As we always say, though, we got to go to the back to get that full story. So let's take a look there. And here, interestingly enough, you know, she's got the most shoulder shape showing through, definitely more than even Kayla, who's the overall in class winner. She's got, you know, a little bit more of the depth into her back even being showing through here. Not as much of a taper into the midsection. That's to be expected, though, with some of the athletes on stage. And then lower body-wise, you know, we start to even see a little bit of tie-in. So she's got a little bit of a harder look in the lower body, maybe holding a little bit more body fat in the midsection. These are all things that can favor in. She's probably, honestly, a bit too lean for this group. from the back especially, and does not have necessarily the same amount of fullness. So that definitely is a huge factor, yet again, being in our fit model placings as we go across the board, where the athletes that have, you know, the right shape but not overdoing the muscle and also definitely softer are winning these classes when we see that time and time again. And that's probably the difference between Kayla here and then Jacqueline, who, you know, they went head to head for that overall, these two class winners, and Kayla comes out on top, softer, fuller look. And that really continues to be the echo point. So a lot of fit model competitors, I know, they're dieting themselves into oblivion right now, trying to figure out this stuff. I would err on the side of coming in softer versus coming in leaner. I would honestly say that at this point, because this is clearly where the criteria is heading. You're going to be better off coming in softer. Just get on stage, get that feedback. If judges want you to come in tighter, very easy to apply that. Go compete again. If you just go to stage, too lean, you're gonna have a harder time overall placing better, because that's just what we continue to see. You know, obviously your muscle structure is very important too. If you have too much muscle, you're either going to have to downsize that muscle, or you're going to have to go, into bikini, a different division at that point, because it's clearly being showcased now with fit model on all levels and consistently show after show after show that I review. I am seeing exactly that the bigger athletes placing lower, leaner athletes placing lower, and the athletes that are softer and fuller overall in their physique are winning these classes, winning these events. So we will see where time takes us, but that is where we are at today. I will be doing a bikini video here shortly. So if you want to watch bikini from this event and learn a little bit more about those differences and those things there, check that one out. All right. Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.